Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more videos on lesson content.
Got no place to be, got no place to go. Come hang out with me on the Mr. Flanders Show.
Hey everybody, Mr. Flanders here. How's it going? We are getting ready to jump into our math lesson for the week, our first math lesson for the week. And we are doing another guided practice. If you were able to do this last week online, that's great. If not, this will be your first guided practice since, we've started our distance learning. With that being said, the first thing I want everybody to pay attention to is the name line. If you don't have a ruler at home or if you're doing this online, please do not worry about doing the measurements right now. Since this is such a unique situation that we're in, I understand that doing some of this work might be a little rough just because not everybody might have a ruler or some people might be doing this online. So it's okay if you don't do the measurement, okay? Other than that, there's going to be a couple of other instances where we might not do something just because it might be hard to translate to the computer, or just because there's measuring involved, and that's we're just going to make the most of it. We're going to do what we can. Okay. On that note, let's go ahead and just move right into this assignment here, and we're going to start with number 1. Okay. Number 1. There are 43 jump ropes and 12 balls for the children to use during recess. 15 children are using jump ropes. How many jump ropes are not being used? Okay, well, let's think about this for a second. We've got 43 jump ropes, it says right here, and it says 15 children are using jump ropes. Our job is to figure out how many jump ropes are not being used. So does that sound like an addition problem or a subtraction problem to get the answer? Think about it for a second. Yes, it would be a subtraction problem, okay? So if you are working on this on a computer, go ahead and grab a scratch piece of paper and start working on this. If you are doing this in your packet, go ahead and use your workspace and we're going to figure this out. The numbers that we need are 43, so we're going to write 43, take away, and it said how many children are using the jump ropes? 15. Alright, now let's go ahead and start on our right hand side. Let's do 3, take away 5. If I have 3 of something, can I take 5 away? No, I cannot do that. If I'm holding up 3 fingers, I can't take 5 away. I've only got the 3. So what we're going to need to do is regroup this 3 using the 4. So what we're going to do is cross that out. Boop. We're going to turn that 4 into a 3. And we're going to just carry that one that we took right here, put it next to it. We've regrouped. All right, we are now at 13, take away 5. And 13 take away 5 is 8. And then we've got 3 take away 1. 3 take away 1 would be 2. So how many jump ropes are not being used? 28. Now, before we write our answer right here, let's go ahead and write our number sentence. Our number sentence is using the numbers to create a problem. So we're going to do 43 take away 15, and we equal that out to 28. Right? Right. It says how many jump ropes are not being used. We're going to write 28 jump ropes. Boom, baby. There we go. All right. Go ahead and take a couple seconds, finish that up. And if you are doing this on the computer, you should notice that there are blue boxes you can just type your answers into. You won't be able to use the workspace, but you will be able to type the answers right here. Let's go ahead and move on to number 2 now. Again, if you are doing this on the computer, you should notice that you actually have 3 different bar graphs here in this area. I'll post a picture of it in just a second. And yeah, you should notice the colored bars. And if you're doing this on the computer, what you're going to do is you're going to move those colored bars into where they need to be on the graph. Everybody else, what we need to do is take these numbers here and figure out where they would go on the graph. So let's read number 2 just to make sure we're getting the directions and instructions correct. It says this is a tally to show how many children chose each color. Color the graph to show the colors the children chose. So you'll notice that some of my friends chose the color yellow. Let's see, we have 10 friends chose the color yellow. So what we would do is over here in our graph, we'd find the color yellow, and we would just color up to how many of our friends liked the color yellow. If you have a yellow crayon, please use a yellow crayon if you're doing this at home on a packet. If you are doing this on the computer, make sure you're using the correct bar that needs to go on the graph. Okay, now let's go ahead and look at purple. Purple has 5, 6, 7 friends. 7 friends. Now, do I have a 7 area here? I don't. So that means it's not going to end up on a line. It is going to end up in the middle of a box. So we're looking at purple. We found purple. I'm going to put a little dot right here because you'll notice my little dot I've put between 8 and 6. And what number is between 8 and 6? Well, that's 7. So my graph, my bar, is going to go up to that point. Okay? And then for our last one, pink has 5 friends who like that color. Again, you're not going to find the number 5 on this side. All right? So we're going to need to find where it would go. Let's see. I'm going to put my dot here because it is between 4 and 6, and that dot would be my 5. So it would go 4, 5, 6, right? 5 is in between 6 and 4. So my graph, my bar, goes right there. And if you're doing this on the computer, you just need to make sure that your bars that you're moving around are ending up looking just like this. Okay, go ahead and take a couple seconds, finish that up. And then we're going to go ahead and look at number 3. Number 3. If you notice, my friends, if you're doing this on the computer, there should be a cluster of gray boxes down here at the bottom of the page. And what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to take those boxes and put them here to fill out the right amount of squares. Otherwise, if you are doing this on your packet, on your paper packet, all we're going to need to do is color 4 1/4 of the squares. So we definitely need to color in 4 squares all the way. Now, since I'm doing this really quickly, I'm just going to scribble scrabble. And please feel free to scribble scrabble too. Okay? So that's 1 box. That is 2 boxes. 3 boxes. And then 4 boxes. Okay, and now we're at our last box. And our last box is not going to be a full box. It's going to be 1/4. So we're going to split this box into 4 spaces. And it says we should color only 1 of these new spaces. So I'm just going to color the 1. All right, and if you're doing this on the computer, you should notice that your square has like a plus sign in the middle, and that's just to help break up your square, and you're going to need to move the little squares over to show that it's 1/4. Okay, so go ahead and take a couple seconds, finish that up. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and move the paper up a little bit so you guys can see better. All right, let's go ahead and look at number 4. It says, put a small square in each right angle of this shape. Use a corner piece of paper to check the angles. Now, I know we really haven't talked about right angles too much. I know we've talked about corners and points, but right angle is kind of a new idea. And a right angle is basically, well, first off, it's 90 degrees, which I know that doesn't mean too much right now without having all of our curriculum in front of us. But a 90-degree angle is essentially just the letter L. If you can find the letter L in a shape, then you've found a 90-degree angle. And you'll notice on this this question, it says use a corner of a piece of paper to check the angles. And that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and grab sticky notes. Okay. And I'm going to use the end of a sticky note here to see if I can find like a letter L. Now, obviously it isn't a letter L, it's just a corner of a piece of paper. But the way that this corner is shaped could be like a letter L. Okay. So we're going to start with this bottom corner right here. If my edges line up perfectly with that corner, that is a right angle. Okay, let's take a look. What do you guys think? Does it line up? I think so. So that is one right angle. We're going to put a box there. Okay. Let's take a look at this side. Okay, we're going to see if my corner lines up there. Uh-oh. Does that make a good L shape? No, I don't think so. So we can't call that a right angle. What about this top point here? Do my lines add up? Do they line up? Yes, they do. They could make an L shape. So we're going to put a box right here. Doot, doot. That is a horrible box. Don't judge me. All right. Now, if we look at this side of the shape, we could basically take a good guess and figure out what other corner would have a right angle. Since this side right here looks exactly the same as this side, we already know that they are not going to be right angles. What about this bottom one right here? Does this bottom part look the same as this bottom part? Well, I think so. So we could say that's a right angle. Now it asks, how many right angles are there? Well, let's go ahead and count them. 1, 2, 3. There are 3 right angles. So we're just going to write the number 3. All right. We're going to move on to the last part of that question. And if you were doing this on the computer, I wasn't able to create lines that I felt were that would work for this. So please just follow along. But if you're doing this on your paper packet and you have a red crayon, great. You can also use a pencil or a pen for this. It says, trace the parallel line segments using a red crayon. Now, I know we've talked about parallel lines before. We haven't talked about them a lot, though. So if you guys forgot what they are, that's fine. But I'll give you a quick reminder here. Parallel lines are lines that are equal in size, usually, and are pretty close to each other, but they're not touching. They go the same way, they're the same length, but they are not touching. So, for example, this side here of the shape and this side here of the shape count as parallel lines because they are both the same size and they are running next to each other, okay? Just like my hands were. So, this is going to be a parallel line. I'm just going to trace that. And this is going to be a parallel line, okay? Now, are there any other parallel lines in this shape? Some of my friends might say that these two are parallel lines. And they are the same size, and they're kind of running next to each other. But they are not parallel lines because they are touching, okay? So there are only the 2 parallel lines, okay? Let's go ahead and move on to number 5. And number 5 is going to touch on an idea we started working on in class before spring break, and that is rounding. But it's going to ask us to do something a little bit different, but it's basically just asking us to round. So let's go ahead and move on to number 5. What numbers would you use to estimate the sum of 23 and 65? Now, estimate means guess. We need to figure out which numbers we could use to guess pretty closely to the right answer of these two numbers. Okay? But the best way for us to do that would be to round. Okay? We could round this number down, because if you remember, any number that's like 4 or below on this right hand side would go down. So we would write 20, that's us rounding down. And then for 65, if you remember, on our right hand side here, any number that's 5 or up, we would round up to the next 10. And our next 10 would be 70. Okay? So we could use these numbers to guess or estimate the sum of 23 and 65. Okay? Go ahead and take a second, finish that up. Now keep in mind, since we're guessing, we don't have to be accurate with our numbers. So I mean 20 and 70 added together, that's 90. That's not going to be the same answer we would get with 65 plus 23, because that would be 88. But it's pretty close. That's why it's an estimate. It's a guess. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and move on to number 6. Number 6 here is a pretty long, or the first question in number 6 is pretty long. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers we need to add together. Okay, if you are doing this in your packet at home, I'd like you to add all the numbers together right here in this space. If you are doing this online, obviously you're not going to have a little workspace right here, especially since you might not have completed number 3 and those gray boxes are still there. So just get a scratch piece of paper and write the numbers down and add them together. There's a couple different ways we could do this. We could try to add some of the simple numbers together first. I personally like just working from the left side over for these problems, because it keeps everything in order for me. I don't lose track of numbers. So with that being said, let's go ahead and start. We'll do 2 plus 3. Well, 2 plus 3, that is 5. And then we'll do 7 plus 9. That is 16. And we'll bring that 1 down. Okay? Now we've got 5 plus 16. Well, 5 plus 16, that is 21. And then 21 plus that 1, just 22. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. All right? Now, let's go ahead and look at these next 3 questions. We're going to start with 85 plus 35. Let's go ahead and start on this right side. 5 plus 5 is 10. We're going to regroup. Okay. Now we've got 1 plus 8 plus 3. Well, let's do 8 plus 3 first. 8 plus 3 is 11. Okay. I'm sorry, why did I write that down? Oh my goodness, I made a mistake, guys. 8 plus 3 is 11, which I just wrote, but I forgot to add the 1, so the 1 added to 11 is 12. Boom, look at that, I fixed it, guys. By the way, let that be a lesson to you. Do not do your math in pen. Always use a pencil. Don't follow my lead. I am being hysterical. All right, so 85 plus 35 is 120. Let's go ahead and move on to this subtraction problem here, our takeaway problem. 94, take away 25. Well, if I have 4, can I take away 5? Let's see, I'm going to hold up 4 fingers. Can I take away 5 from these 4 fingers? The answer is no, I cannot. So we're going to need to regroup. Turn that 9 into 8. Put that 1 right there. Okay. 14 take away 5 is 9. And then 8 take away 2 is what, everybody? 6. Alright, so 94 take away 25 is 69. Now let's go ahead and move on to this last problem. 327 plus 485. Wow, that is a lot. Well, even though we've got hundreds that we're adding together, we're still going to start on the right side. So let's start with 7 plus 5. 7 plus 5 is 12. Regroup. Now we've got 2 plus 8 is 10 plus the 1 is 11. We're going to regroup. And then 3 plus 4 is 7 plus the 1 is 8. So 327 plus 485 is 812. Whew! That was a lot, guys. That was a lot. But hopefully, it's getting easier. I know we've been doing some different work the past couple of weeks. We're starting to get back in our own stuff. Hopefully, we're all starting to find that groove. Remember, if you are working on the computer, things are going to look a little different for you. You're going to be typing your answers into the blue boxes. You're going to be moving some stuff around as well to complete questions. But everybody who's working in a paper packet, it shouldn't be that much different for you. On that note, though, I'm going to go ahead and get running for this lesson. Remember, my friends, A side is for here, B side is for homework. And by that, I mean you have to work on B side on your own using what we just talked about with this stuff, okay? If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please have your parents reach out to me or you reach out to me. You can post your questions to Class Dojo. You can post videos of your questions to Flipgrid. Whatever you need to do, just let me know, and I will do my best to assist. Otherwise, guys, that is it for this part of the lesson. I will catch up with you in just a few seconds over in our other lesson. Howdy-o, neighborinos, Mr. Flanders here, and this is the second part of our lesson for lesson 114. Right now we are going to be working with right angles. If you remember what we just did a little bit ago on our other worksheet, we started getting into right angles, and a right angle is basically just going to be, the best way to describe it is an L shape. Okay, now if you are doing this in your paper packet, this should be pretty easy for you to just draw the shapes. If you are doing this in Google Classroom, you will have to go to the insert area of the Google slide and insert shapes that you think have right angles. I'm going to tell you right now, do not put in a circle. A circle is not anywhere near a shape that has a right angle, okay? But let's go ahead and look at two shapes that do have right angles. All right, I'm going to start off with a basic square, okay? Just connecting the dots on my own. Boom, just a square. And if you remember in the last lesson, I said a right angle is basically the corner of a piece of paper. So if I can make this corner fit into the corner of my shape, and they touch perfectly, it's a right angle. And would you look at that? They mostly do. I just can't draw straight. And all of my angles here are right angles, okay? At every point of my shape. Okay? So this shape here has, oh my goodness, stop it. This shape here has 1, 2, 3, 4 right angles. Okay? And if you're doing this on the computer, don't worry about trying to mark the boxes like I just did. I've already done this for you in the Google slide, so don't worry about trying to create your own little boxes in number 1, okay? For number 2, my friends who are working in the paper packet, you are going to have here a letter L. Oh my goodness. And my friends who are doing this in Google Slides, you'll notice your letter L is a little bit smaller than the one I've just drawn here, and that's okay. It's still the same basic idea. Okay? And we're going to do the paper check here real quick. All right. Boom. Yep. Yep. That's a right angle. Oh my goodness. I think all of my angles are right angles. See? They just run right next to each other. It's a right angle. I like it. All right. Cool. Now, what I want you guys to do at home and on Google is make your own shapes with right angles. So if you're at home, you can draw like a rectangle, you could draw a bigger square, you could draw, oh my goodness, what else could you draw that has a right angle? You could try drawing the house that was in the other lesson. It's entirely up to you. Okay, I want you guys for 3 and 4 to come up with your own shapes that have right angles. So at home, if you're drawing them, that's going to be easy for you guys. If you're doing this on Google, it's going to be slightly harder just because you have to click on the insert area and insert a shape. But hopefully mom or dad, grandma, grandpa, brother, sister, they'll be nearby that they can help you out with that. Okay? Couple things to remember. Circles will not have right angles. Please don't put circles in there. Oh my goodness. And then on top of that, make sure that the shapes you're drawing have it where the two sides are even to make like a letter L. Okay? If you need to, use a piece of paper to help you with that. Okay? On that note, that's about it for this lesson. It's pretty easy stuff for this. I'm going to leave you to it. I can't wait to see what you guys do. So make sure you get those packets turned in soon. Make sure you turn in these assignments soon on Google. And I really look forward to seeing what you guys do. On that note, I'm going to get going. I will catch up with you guys later. Stay safe. Stay strong. Stop being hysterical. And guys, genuinely, I want you to know I miss you so much. All right? I wish we were doing this in class. And I really hope that we get back to our normal routine soon. All right? I'll see you guys later. Take it easy.